With point number 4, we want to make sure that we're clear on this. Construct chains can have more than 2 members. I've been talking about thing 1, thing 2, but we're not limited to 2. You can conceivably include an infinite number of members of a construct chain. Not that anyone has time for that, but keep in mind that when you have multiple members of a construct chain, it's going to be the case that everything in the series is going to be in the construct state until you get to the last member of the construct chain, and that one will have to be in the absolute state. And if the absolute one is indefinite, then everything before it is indefinite. If the absolute is definite, then everything before it is definite, even though none of them can have the article on them. So, I mean, I could make an infinite series of construct forms, right? I could say the wife of, the man of, the city of, the nation of, the planet of, the galaxy of, and just keep going, right? I could have this multiple part construct chain. Everything's going to be in the construct form except for the last form. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of examples here. Here we have Eshet Navi Yehuda. Say that with me. Eshet Navi Yehuda. What is Eshet? It's wife. Is it the absolute or the construct singular of wife? It's the construct, because the absolute's the one you know as your vocabulary word, which is what? Isha. Isha, right. So this obviously is not the absolute form, right? So this is construct, thing 1. Navi is that the absolute or the construct form of Navi? It's the construct, because it's got the reduced vowel point, right? Navi becomes Navi when it's in the construct. So that's construct. That's thing 2. And then Yehuda is the third part of the construct chain. That's got to be absolute, and that's, well, now that's thing 3, right? Now, let's think about this for just a moment. Is Yehuda definite or indefinite? It's definite because it is a proper noun. It's not definite because it has the article, because it doesn't. But proper nouns are specific people, places, and things. And so that makes this noun definite. And therefore, the definiteness of the absolute form guarantees the definiteness of all the construct forms that are bound to it. So how am I going to translate this? Can I say a wife of a prophet of Judah? Nope. I got to make all of them definite. So it's the wife of what? The prophet, good, of the Judah. That's right. So of Judah. Okay? We all see that? You good? You happy? Sure. Okay, we'll go with that. All right. Look at the second one. I have Eshet Avi Ben Navi Are Haaretz. Isn't that fun? Eshet, again, is what word? Wife. In which state? Minnesota. No, I'm just kidding. Construct state. Good. Avi is the construct form of what noun, do you think? No. Avi, it's what? Yeah, what's Avi? It's, what's the lexical form? The absolute, it's Av. Remember, the word for father is Av. All right? So this one's a little bit odd. The construct singular gets a special Keurig yod. Okay? That's not normal for most masculine singular nouns. So, but do understand that if I want to say the father of someone, I don't say Av Moshe, the father of Moses. It's Avi Moshe. Okay? The father of Kayla is Avi Kayla. The father of Murray, Avi Murray. Morai. All right. So this is construct for father. So the wife of, the father of. Now, I'm putting those here, but I really am not certain because I need to go to the very end to determine whether all the construct forms are definite. What do I have here at the back? I have a ha. Is that definite? Yes. So then all of my forms are going to be definite too. So what about Ben? Is that the construct form of another word? Or of a word? Yeah. What's the normal absolute form of this word son? It's bane with what vowel point? Sere. It's A. Yeah, so that's construct. Navi, is that the absolute of the construct? The absolute has a kamet under the noon. Navi, but this is reduced. Navi. Okay, so this is construct as well. And are, what's that? Well, we know it's Canadian, don't we? Eh? So this has got to be the construct state as well. What's the absolute form of this? It's arim. The plural of ear is arim. Remember that? So ear is one of those forms that takes its plural irregularly. Ear, arim. Okay? So if I want to take the plural form of arim and make it construct, I start with the plural, arim, and I change the ending if it is one of those endings that changes in the construct. And im becomes a, right? Because it goes Canadian on us. So I have array, and then I have haaretz, which is the earth, land, and it's absolute. Because the last member of a construct chain has to be the absolute. And you know the basic form of eretz with the article is aretz, haaretz. All right, so how many members of this construct chain do I have? Think 1, think 2, think 3, think 4, think 5. Here's a 6-member construct chain. All the first 5 forms are in the construct. Last form is in the absolute. How am I going to translate this? The wife of Avi, the father of Ben, the son of. That'd be so funny if we had the word gun here, but it's not son of a gun, right? Navi, the son of the prophet of the cities, plural, the cities of, the land. Okay, there you go. The wife of, the father of, the son of, the prophet of, the cities of the land. That's something I made up. Yes. Okay. Now let's talk about how you translate construct chains. Okay. 12.7. The general strategy or formula for translating a construct chain is to basically take the 2 words, and in order it'll be, if it's definite, the blank of the blank. If they're not definite, then it could be a blank of a blank. All right. If it's plural, blanks of blanks. Mountains of people, for example. Now, just as in English, we have a variety of ways that the second noun semantically relates to the first noun, so also in the Hebrew language. So let's think about this. In English, if I say the horse of the king, how is the second noun related to the first noun, horse? How is king related to horse? Yeah, it's the possessor of the horse, right? So the second noun is the possessor of the first noun. So we could also translate this as the king's horse. So the horse of the king or the king's horse would both be good translations of such an expression in Hebrew. So the semantics are possessive. But look at this one, a rod of iron. In Hebrew, rod would be thing 1 and iron would be thing 2. How is thing 2 related to thing 1 semantically? Is iron the possessor of rod? No, and that doesn't even make sense, right? Rather, the iron is the stuff out of which the rod is made. That is, it's the material. So we would say that this is a a rod made of iron, or maybe an iron rod, okay? So all that to say, and this is really the important thing, is that when we have a blank of blank sort of construction in English, the second thing has a variety of different semantic relationships to the first one. And that's true in Hebrew. We're not going to exhaust those semantic categories in our lesson, but I'm going to give you 6 of the ones that Ross gives because they're fairly common semantic categories for how thing 2 can relate to thing 1. Okay? So, next paragraph. Ross provides 6 main semantic categories for how the semantics of thing 2, the absolute, also we refer to as the genitive noun or the free form, how that relates to thing 1, which is the construct noun, the head noun, or the bound form. Since thing 2 is sometimes described as the genitive noun, the categories of meaning we're going to talk about are often described by grammarians as genitive classifications. This is a genitive of such and such. Okay? So, let's take a look at the possibilities here. Number 1, our thing 2 noun could be what's called a genitive of possession. That means that thing 2 is the possessor of thing 1. Look at our example here. Beit hamelech. Beit is thing 1, hamelech is thing 2. In a genitive of possession, remember thing 2 is often described as the genitive noun. We're asking how does thing 2 relate to thing 1? It's the possessor. To make that clear, not only might I say the house of the king, but to make the possession clear, I could say what? The king's house, right? The king's house. All right. Number 2, the second noun, the absolute noun in a genitive construction, could be a genitive of source or authorship. That is, thing 2 is the author of thing 1, or the source by way of authoring of thing 1. When you have this type of a construction and this type of semantic relationship, thing 1 is going to be a word that describes some form of communication. So maybe a word like book or word or oracle or psalm or song. Okay? So take a look at this example. I have Devar Adonai. Devar Adonai. This is the word of Yahweh. How is Yahweh related to word? Yahweh is the author or the source of the word, okay? The word of Yahweh. I could also translate this as Yahweh's word, but we're construing that as a word which Yahweh has spoken. In the Psalms, I have expressions like Mizmor David, a psalm of David, right? Or Mizmor le David, if it was a psalm of David. All right, let's take 3 and 4 together because we really can only understand them together because they represent similar things. The terms are subjective genitive and objective genitive. And in these sorts of genitives, the genitive noun, thing 2, is the conceptual subject or object of the verbal idea that thing 1 represents. So in order to have this sort of a genitive relationship, thing 1 has to be a noun that has an inherently verbal idea. If my head noun or my thing 1 noun is the word rock, that does not have any inherent verbal connotation. So I wouldn't have an objective or a subjective genitive. The noun has to have something that it could be construed as a verbal notion. So let me give you some examples here, okay? We have, first of all, the noun Yeshuat with Yahweh, okay? Do you know what Yeshuat is from? Yeah, it's related to that idea. It's the absolute noun is Yeshua, Yeshua, and you see how it became construct and became Yeshuat, right? So that's the construct, that's thing 1. Adonai is the absolute, that's thing 2. Yeshua is salvation. Now, does the noun salvation connote to you any kind of a verbal notion? Yeah, salvation is the result of saving, right? To save is a verb. Salvation is a verbal noun. It's a verbal abstract noun. It's a noun that indicates the result of saving, okay? Here's another one. I don't have it here, but when you put one foot in front of the other, we call that what? Walking, right? To walk. And if I say, hey, I had a really nice walk, is walk there a noun or a verb? It's a noun, but it's a noun that has an inherently verbal idea, doesn't it? Okay? So if I have a noun with an inherently verbal idea, that's the head noun, then the second noun could be the object of the verbal idea, in which case it's an objective genitive, or it could be the subject, the doer of that inherently verbal idea, in which case it's a subjective genitive. So let's take a look at a couple of examples here. So starting with Yeshuat Adonai, you might translate this using our literal formula as the salvation of Yahweh. Okay? Now, that does not commit you to a semantic interpretation yet. But you have to ask yourself, is Yahweh the one doing the salvation, or is Yahweh the one that basically is in need of the salvation, like someone is saving Yahweh? Well, if you know your theology, Yahweh's the one who does the saving, right? So the salvation of Yahweh is really Yahweh's act of salvation, right? He does the saving. But think about the second one. I have Yeshuat Adam, the salvation of Adam. What sort of genitive is that? Oh, by the way, let me go back. So what was the genitive in the first one? It's a subjective genitive, right? Yahweh is the subject of the saving. He's doing the saving. Okay, what about the salvation of Adam? What type of a genitive do you think that might be? Yeah, probably objective genitive, because Adam is fallen and he needs saving. Okay, so the salvation of Adam here has to do with the act of saving Adam. Okay, so that's objective genitive, because the second noun is the object of the verbal idea inherent in the first noun. So objective genitive. Okay? Well, you could still translate it as the salvation of Adam, but the context would probably make it clear that that's an objective genitive. Now, if we look at the third one, we have Yirat Adonai, and this is from the word Yirah, which means fear. Okay? So again, you see how the Kametz He ending in the absolute becomes Pathak Tav. Ah becomes At in the construct. So that's thing one. Adonai is thing two, or Yahweh. All right. Is fear a noun that has a verbal idea? Yeah. Fear is not only something you have, but it's something you do, right? So this is a noun with a verbal notion. So the fear of Yahweh. Is Yahweh the a subjective genitive here? Is Yahweh doing the fear? Is Yahweh afraid of something? Or is Yahweh the object of the fear? Yeah, Mackenzie, she pointed at me on that second one. He's the object of the fear, right? I was just reading this text, Proverbs 9, Proverbs 9:11 in Hebrew. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, right? What is that saying? It's our fear of Yahweh, right? Somebody's fearing God. God is the object of that notion of fear. And so we would call that an objective genitive. And then lastly, I have ahavat Adonai. This is from the noun ahava, which means love. Okay? The noun love is a verbal abstract noun related to the verb love, to love. Okay, ahav. So ahavat is the feminine singular construct of ahava. That's thing one. Yahweh is thing two. The love of Yahweh. Now, I specify here that this is ambiguous, because can you imagine Yahweh as the subject of love, like the one who does the loving? Yeah. I could say, for example, the love of God or the love of Yahweh really amazes me. His love for me amazes me, right? So the love of Yahweh is Yahweh's love. As well, I could say something like this. You know, you love Yahweh too little, and the love of Yahweh needs to increase in your life. Well, what am I saying there? The love of Yahweh. Yahweh is the object of the love, right? You're the one who loves, and the love for Yahweh in your life needs to progress. So this is ambiguous. You could translate them both as the love of Yahweh, but you might need to clarify to somebody which one you mean. Usually the context will be fairly clear. Now, if you're hip and attuned and keen on New Testament studies, there is this debate in New Testament theology over something called the pistis Christou. Any of you ever heard of that? Yeah, so this is literally, in Greek, it's a similar sort of construction to what we have in Hebrew. It's the faith of Christ. And the question is, how is Christ related to the faith? Some say Christ is the object of the faith. Christ is an objective genitive. And others say, no, Christ is the subject of the faith. And it really refers to Christ's faith, meaning his faithfulness. He does that which is faithful. Okay? So just be aware that thinking through the implications of this really can have some important and significant theological ramifications. Okay? All right, number 5. We have, for our construct chain, something called an attributive genitive, or a genitive of attribute. And here, the genitive noun, thing 2, is a descriptive attribute of thing 1. Now, we have to remember that what we're talking about here when we deal with construct chains are nouns, okay? These are nouns being brought together. They're slapped up next to each other. So this thing, the second thing we're looking at is not an adjective. It is a noun, okay? It's a noun. So what this ends up being is like a noun plus an attributive adjective following it, but that second thing is not an adjective. It's actually a noun. So let's look at some examples here. I have Har HaKodesh. Har HaKodesh. Har is mountain. HaKodesh is holiness. Put it together, and I have the mountain of holiness. The mountain of holiness. Well, what is the mountain of holiness? Thing 2 is using a noun that forms an attribute of thing 1. I would translate this as to bring out the attributive nature of that genitive, the holy mountain. Okay? The holy mountain. If you take a look at the second one, I have Mozene. There's the masculine plural construct ending, the Canadian ending, so that's thing 1. Tzedek is thing 2. Tzedek is not an adjective, it's a noun, it means justice. So scales of justness, what would you call those? Just scales. Okay? Just scales. Now, my kids are funny this way. They haven't learned Hebrew, but they've read the Bible enough to hear expressions like this. And so my son Andrew especially would use these English construct chains where they were basically attributive genitives. And he would say things like, bring me the meal of yumminess. Well, what is he saying? Bring me a yummy meal, right? So funny things like that. Okay, the sixth one is genitive of material, and we've already previewed this a little bit. But in this sort of a construct chain thing too, constitutes the material or the matter out of which thing one is made. So look at our first example. I have keseh zahav. Keseh is a throne. Zahav is gold. So a throne of gold means a throne made of gold or made with gold, okay? The gold thing too is the material out of which the throne is made. That's a genitive of material, right? Remember, genitives are the second noun. Shevet barzel is thing one, rod. Barzel, iron. Rod of iron is a rod made of iron. Okay, so in each of these, thing two is the matter out of which thing one is made. That's a genitive of material. Okay. All good there? Make sense? Yes. Yes. So in English, if you've gotten the sense of what that genitive's doing, then you could translate it in a way that brings that out a little bit more. So yeah, we would say a stone house, but in Hebrew it would be a Beit Evan, a house of stone. Exactly.